Carolyn Lane, and I got connected with her through LinkedIn, and I think what happened was we were connected. We had probably a mutual connection, and then I noticed her background and what she was interested in. So I just figured, hey, another cool person to connect with in the Twin Cities. And also I had I was doing a 25 Coffees meetup last year, and she ended up on my list. So we ended up meeting for the first time, I think it was probably April or May.
Yeah.
And we went to the Free House, I think.
Free House. Oh yeah.
They have such good food and delicious beer.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Free House. Whoop, whoop. And ever since, we've just stayed connected, and we've had a lot of fun learning from each other. At least I've had fun learning from her. And I wanted to bring her on today because she's in the B2B world, and I'm more in the B2C world, and I wanted to not only understand that, but also she is a board member for Women in Digital, so I wanted to speak to that as well and ask her a couple questions about that. So, without further ado, welcome, Caroline.
Thanks for having me.
Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. Did I say Carolyn at the beginning?
Can I tell a funny story about that?
Yes.
Okay, so my entire life, it's been Carolyn, but it's spelled Caroline. So when I got married, I changed the spelling of my first name to Carolyn, Lyn, and I also changed my last name, and I also changed my middle name. So I'm a whole new woman.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Prime opportunity.
Right, yep. So now when people look at my credit card or my ID, they say my name correctly, and I've never been happier. Right?
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On multiple levels.
Thank you.
Okay, 21 questions. Here we go. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Awesome.
Bring it on.
How long have you lived in Minnesota for?
My whole life, except for 2 years hiatus where I lived in Spain for a year and I lived in Australia for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
From down under. I can't do the accent very well. No, that's British. I'm gonna cut myself off. iPhone or Android?
I was an hardcore Android person, and then I got my first iPhone, and I don't know, I feel like I like it better. But I was hardcore Android first.
Okay. I can sympathize, but not quite. I've always been an Android. I want to switch over to iPhone, but I just can't seem to do it.
Yeah. There's good and bad to both, I think.
Agreed. Favorite holiday?
Definitely Halloween, because I love to dress up. I love the let's rewind that. I love the creativity that goes into creating a costume or something like that, and I like to see what everybody else created as well.
Okay. Fair answer.
Yes.
Fair answer.
Love Halloween.
Top 3 news sources.
Probably, well, this is gonna sound bad. Probably anything in the crooked media, podcast media conglomerate, like Pod Save America, Pod Save the World, Love It or Leave It.
I've never even heard of it.
Oh my gosh.
That's actually one of my questions for you, so you're jumping ahead here.
It's kind of like a, left-leaning, it's a left-leaning podcast.
Okay.
But they do a good job, so. And that's probably it.
I thought you would have more just because you are dipped into so many different things. So that's the reason I was giving you a top 3 instead of just like one.
Yeah, I mean that's where I get like political news from.
Okay.
And I feel like political news right now is like the only news. So.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Moving right along.
Favorite season?
Definitely not winter, that's for sure. But also I love the summers in Minnesota because everyone is out and about and people are very active outside. Mm-hmm. But I also love sweaters and boots, so probably fall.
Like long sweaters?
Like just like being cozy, but not being cozy to the, I don't know, not being cozy because you want to, not because you have to.
Yes. Agreed. When you're invited to a party, and you are going to bring something, what do you typically bring?
A bottle of red wine.
I had a feeling that was your answer. Because my next question is beer or wine, and
red wine in the winter, whiskey in the summer.
okay. And because I knew you would say wine for one of these.
Yes.
What is your favorite kind of wine?
I really like Pinot Noir because it's red, but it's not as heavy as some of the deeper reds. It's kind of a nice in between.
Okay. Post-it note or digital?
I live and die by my calendar, so digital all the way.
How many events do you typically attend on a monthly basis?
This is also going to be somewhat embarrassing.
There's a reason I asked you this question.
Maybe, depends on the month, but maybe like twice a week, so like 6 to 8 events.
That's kind of a lot. I knew it was going to be a high number.
It is a lot, but I love it, so I don't know.
A pet peeve?
I'm blanking right now.
Okay, you can blank.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Favorite sports team? I didn't think I'd get that reaction from you. Well, because you go to so many Minnesota Wild games.
Yeah.
I don't really see you going to
what-
baseball, but
What even are sports? No. I inherited a love from the Minnesota Wild from my husband. So we go to Wild games and we watch lots of hockey on TV. So probably the Minnesota Wild.
gotcha. West or East Coast?
So I would say West Coast because I feel like the non-type A part of me is like totally all about California living, very relaxed, like beach culture. But the type A part of me is also like fast-paced East Coast. So both.
Okay,
That's probably why I'm in the Midwest.
You're actually the second person to say that.
Really?
Because Erica Hanna, when I interviewed her for this, she said when you go to West Coast, they always say, what can I get you for a drink? Versus
Yeah.
East Coast is, what do you do for work?
Oh,
So that's why she also prefers the Midwest.
nice. I love that.
I think that's how she
Yeah.
phrased it. And I literally looked at her like,
Whoa.
whoa, yeah. So you're the second person to say that, so there must be an actual theory behind why
Sure.
it is that way. Which is kind of cool if you think about it.
Yeah.
Left or right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because the only thing I do with my left hand, ironically, is I'm a lefty when I play hockey, and like everything else, I've always been right-handed. So I just tend towards the right.
Interesting. Interesting. Guilty pleasure.
Probably like really sappy rom-coms, like ones that you should never watch.
Favorite lunch spot?
So I live near Eat Street, and there are tons of restaurants over there. So Pimento, have you been there?
Never even heard of it.
Oh, it's on Nicollet, and it's really spicy. So watch out for that.
Ooh, I like spicy.
Do you?
Yes.
You would love it.
What was your favorite thing to do during Super Bowl week?
Hide.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was gonna say. I was so shocked. I literally was like shocked. I'm like, wait a second.
No, we did go walk around a little bit, but I wasn't super, I don't know, I didn't do all the activities that were down there. But I went to the North Local Market, where it had a whole bunch of local vendors, which was cool. And then I missed it, but I saw on Instagram what was it called? The soda pop.
Yeah, snowballs? Or wait.
No, it was like sort of like an art exhibit, sort of like made so you could take pictures. It was the Babe, the Blue Ox, and people were sitting on Babe.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
That thing. I didn't get to go see it, but I saw it on Instagram, so.
gotcha. It was right by WCCO.
Oh.
And then Paul Bunyan was hiding in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see a Paul Bunyan at first. I saw it from the roof of my apartment building, but I did see Blue Ox. Like I
Nice.
saw Babe right away, so. Who would you swap jobs with for one day?
I'm kind of still figuring out what I'm passionate about.
Okay.
So I don't have like this is the ideal job, dream job kind of scenario.
Is there one person you're like fascinated by that you wonder how they do it all?
I would love to, it would be so interesting to know, the inner workings of like the White House or like the UN or, some like really important political position.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Book or Kindle?
Podcast. I'm just kidding. Probably book.
Okay. I figured I had a 50-50 shot with some of these.
I liked them.
Okay,
They're good.
All right, let's get into the questions. If you're not at a work event, you are at an event, and if you're not at an event, you're organizing an event. So when are you not busy?
There are very few times when I'm not busy, which it's just like a lifestyle choice. There was probably like 4 years ago, it was go to work, come home, hang out, do nothing. And I started saying yes to so many things because I was like, I gotta get more involved. Like there's gotta be more out there to this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting more involved, and then I just never stopped getting more and more involved.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just the way that I live. And when there is downtime, I fill it with something to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think some people don't know how to spend their time,
Yeah.
and then they realize one day they aren't part of a community,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of start to feel maybe bad about it, but they shouldn't feel bad about it. But if you're at least recognizing that it's becoming not problematic, but becoming an issue that you don't feel good about, it's hard to tackle, but once you get going, it makes things a little bit easier. Most opportunities happen outside of our comfort zone, and with Women in Digital, there's a ton of different opportunities for women to get involved. So can you speak to the agenda a little bit about Women in Digital and what typically happens when you do have a meetup?
Sure. So Women in Digital started in Minneapolis. The Minneapolis chapter started in June of 2017, and the national organization started in Columbus, Ohio in 2015. So we're still a relatively young organization, but the organization was created because there was an inequality between men and women especially in agency life, but just in general. So not only closing that gap, but then also bringing to light sexual harassment in the workplace and just things that are oppressive to women. So under that umbrella, this organization is like a lot different than any one that I've been a part of. Not only do they focus on the skills in digital and learning and bringing in speakers that will share their knowledge, but it also focuses on the personal side of being a woman, being a professional, and it brings together a community that will lift women up. So our community is right now about 70 members, and when we have a meetup, typically we have a speaker, like I said before, that talks about whatever digital topic, from social media to email automation to other kind of marketing topics. There's a concept that we do at events called Asks and Gives. So once the speaker's over, we kind of gather as a group together, and people can stand up and publicly ask. So if they are looking for a job, if they are looking for help with a certain thing at work, whether it be a soft skill or a digital skill, or they can give. So if they have something that they can offer to the group in general, maybe their company is hiring, or maybe they're an expert in a specific area of marketing and they want to just meet up for coffee with anybody who needs that skill, they can give that. And we've seen a lot of magic happen there, which is really cool. The very first event we did, a woman stood up and said, I just got laid off, and we all not all of us have been there, but we all know the feeling of, what am I going to do now? And I think by the end of the event, there were 4 women that were, offering up contacts or job opportunities to her. And at the next meeting, she came back and she was like, I got a job from the people from the first meeting. So not only jobs, but also just connecting about skills, both soft skills and digital skills.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And there's something to be said. So Women in Digital is a female-only organization, but when you get together with a group of women and there's not the pressure that we put on ourselves when we're in front of men, maybe, or there's just not that extra element of having men in the room, women can be really vulnerable with each other, and we're used to creating community because that's what we do as women.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that it's a special organization, and we really, we can get vulnerable. We can be exactly who we are in that moment, and nobody's going to judge you there, and I think that's really cool.
People resonate with each other when they're around, especially women, because we can feel each other's emotions.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Usually you can feel each other's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited I just became a part of Women in Digital. And I haven't gone to an event yet, but I've learned a lot through not only Carolyn, but also through Erica Voller and what's going to be happening at the panels. And so it's an organization I'm truly excited to be a part of. And
you're gonna love it. It's cool.
I know I'm gonna love it. So there's no question about that. What are newsletters you enjoy receiving in your inbox to stay up to date from regarding marketing trends from a B2B standpoint?
So I honestly, if you're an Outlook user, you know that you have, or at least on the web, you have your focused inbox, which is like everybody that you communicate with on a daily basis. And then you also have your like other inbox, and a lot of the newsletters and stuff that I get from people go into this other mailbox in Outlook. But there are a couple that break through. So I received an email from a woman at Creative Circle, and I won't say her name, but but her email just struck me. So from a B2B perspective, when you think of a newsletter that you get, it has a lot of links. It could be very educational, but it also could be a little bit salesy. And the way that her email started out was like she was writing it to a friend. And so because it started out that way, I started reading it. And immediately I was impressed at just the way that she was speaking to me, and that she was obviously sending this out to everyone. So the way that she was trying to speak to everyone. And as like a B2B sort of company, I thought that was very cool. So I actually responded to the email. I wasn't looking for any talent or anything, but I responded to the email and I said, I love that email, and I've seen some other emails that she's done too. And I said, I have loved everything that you sent me. I'm not looking for talent right now, but we should definitely meet for coffee. Because if she could put that sort of personal spin on her job and sending out that message, I was like, I have to meet that girl. Mm-hmm. So we met up for coffee, and the rest is history. But I really appreciate those kind of messages from, those kind of newsletters, I guess.
Those are the best, where they're not corporate-y.
Right.
There's an actual voice behind it, mm-hmm. and it's a voice that just is different, mm-hmm. and
it makes you stand out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Who are your mentors?
Well, I actually don't have a formal mentor, but I'm looking for one. One of the things that we were talking about earlier is that I think mentorship kind of comes in all sorts of forms. It can be from somebody who is more advanced in their career, or someone who is in, your ideal, dream job scenario that you want to learn from and learn how to get to where they are. But also, through Women in Digital and just through networking in general, I've met a lot of women who are younger than me, and I've learned so much from them. So mentorship it can be looked at in a lot of different ways, but I find that in my network, I learn from my peers, I learn from people who are more advanced in their career, and also people who are, fresh out of college that have a fresh perspective on life and being a professional.
Awesome.
I also think that there's a real power to being with your peers and talking about your struggles at work. Through networking and stuff, I've created kind of a core group of like marketing friends, I guess. And when we get together, even if it's over a beer, and we're just hanging out, we still talk about, our struggles as a professional and skills that we could be better at, and what's your opinion on XYZ. So I think that having peers, having those peers that you can really go to and open up to is really important too.
Agreed. What event is on your bucket list for this year that you're super excited about?
So I'm actually going to South by Southwest in March, but I'm not going to the actual conference. So I'm really excited to actually just go and be amongst the people in Austin. I've never been to Austin before. The conference wasn't in the cards for me this year, but I hope to go one year. But as far as other conferences, I would love to go to Social Media Marketing World. That would be amazing. I listen to his podcast and I read all of his articles. I would also like to go to Content Marketing World, which I've never been to, and then HubSpot's Inbound. Those are like my three conferences that I'd love to attend. I
just went to a HubSpot with Media Junction, or that Media Junction hosted, and it was super awesome. I believe the gal's name was Amanda Smith. If I don't have her last name correct, I'll correct it below here. But learned a lot, and it had to do with the Facebook algorithm and the changes that are being implemented, and how much it's apparently messing with people's, well, no, it's not how much it apparently is, it's how much it's now messing with the organic reach of...
Organic reach? Like, what even is that anymore? It's not a thing.
I just found an article the other day that someone shared that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. It had to do with a gal that hacked the new algorithm, whatever that means. And it wasn't very clear with how she did it. So I'm really confused.
Was it the one about how she put up something that everyone hated?
Yes, it was the video.
and then they just kept commenting on how much they hated it, and it just kept boosting it in the algorithm.
Maybe I'm not familiar enough with that. I was just like, I completely missed what.
I think it's just based on when you post something, instead of like likes or shares, they're really focusing on the interaction between you and the other people in your network on Facebook.
Okay.
So if people keep commenting on something, then Facebook gives it more,
more gas to stay at the top, essentially.
Right, exactly. So they were just talking about how people were commenting on how much they hated this thing, and because they kept commenting, it kept going to the top of their feed.
That makes sense. She didn't make it very clear in the article, so I had to read it a couple of times because I'm so used to just being a computer learning machine.
Yeah.
And I think I had to get my brain wrapped around the new way that technology is actually going to be working now. So that actually makes complete sense.
Yeah. That's just kind of funny.
That's kind of messed up that it took me that long to...
Right.
Yeah. So what podcasts are you tuned into that you've been learning that you've just been learning from and been enjoying?
So I have a very entrepreneurial spirit. I'm not currently an entrepreneur, but I just love the energy of that, My husband actually owns a clothing company called Minnesota Mean, and he, up until recently, has been freelancing graphic design. So I've seen a little bit of that world from him, and I have a ton of friends who are doing their own thing, and it's very cool. So I listen to a lot of entrepreneur-focused podcasts, and I think the one that I really like is the Strategy Hour, and I think that those girls are from the Think Creative Collective, which I think is based in Minnesota. Ooh, I should probably know that.
I couldn't tell you because I'm learning about new podcasts
Yeah.
with every single person.
Right, yeah.
So
Oh my gosh, you should make a master list.
that's what I'm going to end up doing.
You should, because I'm always down for a podcast recommendation. But yeah, the strategy hour, they go through being in business for yourself. They go through like marketing strategy, and then my favorite part is when you go through a podcast and like I listen to podcasts in the car when I'm on my way to work. So I don't necessarily, I'm not writing stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
And right at the end, they go through like the top 3 things that were from the podcast that you need to take away from it, which I think is really cool because then you can remember it, and it's just a lot easier than trying to go back through the whole thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The people that I know that I'm connected to because of you, they mention, and this is a compliment, they mention that you just know a bunch of random people.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? How did that happen? Is it
Right.
because of just immersing yourself into different communities?
So actually, right about the time when we met, I was also doing a similar thing where I made it my mission to go to, 3 coffees a week or something crazy. And that was just last year, around this time. So what I would do is I would go through LinkedIn and just find people either by searching titles of something that, I was a job title that I wanted or a job title that I thought was close to mine. And I would message them and say, and this is funny because this might be on LinkedIn, I would message you and I would say, I really think that your experience looks very cool. I'd love to learn more about you. Would you like to have coffee with me? And I met a lot of people that way, yourself included. And it's been a blast. And from those people, they introduced me to people. And so just kind of my network grew that way a lot. But just not being afraid to reach out to people, because the thing that I always am so shocked by, and I should stop being shocked by now, the thing that I'm shocked by is how willing people are to help you if you ask for help. It's crazy, and it's not like, oh yeah, sure, I guess, like I might want to help you. It's like, how can I go to the next level to help you, whether it's in person or just by recommending somebody that you should talk to. It's very cool. I don't know if that's like a Midwest thing or if that's an everywhere thing, but
To kind of add on to that, I think if you're specific with the reason for
Yes.
wanting to meet, that helps tremendously, because I get requests on LinkedIn. Not long ago, I got a plethora of requests because of a specific person that I happened to get a selfie with, because it was an obligatory selfie, and no one personalized a message. And so I consider myself to be kind of a nice person when it comes to those situations, and I will accept the invitation, but I will also message a person right away and I will say, let me know the reason for why you wanted to connect.
Right.
Because if I don't have that to work off of from the get-go, then I don't know how I'm adding value to your feed or adding value to your community, and I don't know how you're going to add value to my community. So I think it's super important to personalize it. I don't think it's just a saying. I think it's yeah, you can reach out and ask to have coffee. That's totally fine. But it's making it so that there's a specific reason.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up and they freeze because they don't know. And if they don't know, then that's probably an indication that you probably are wasting each other's time.
Right. And that's another thing, like going back to one of your earlier questions about, how I spend my time in the future. I feel like I'm going to have to learn how to say no better, because you're right. If you don't have a clear reason for meeting with somebody or for doing something, you probably shouldn't be doing it. It's probably not worth your time. But again, for the LinkedIn, for meeting people, I always send a personalized message. I also get a lot of people that request that don't. But then if they don't and I accept them, I always say, thank you for connecting with me. How can I help you? Because unless they tell you, you have no idea what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, And I would say, I don't know what your rate is with the communication of them being able to provide that from a replying standpoint. For me, I would say 70% of the time I don't get a message back explaining why. And if I send them a message and they don't explain to me why, then I end up deleting them within 1 business week. I removed a guy who apparently has, I don't know, 25,000 followers, if that's even possible on LinkedIn. He had a significant amount of followers, and he's in the fitness world, and he's connected to a lot of people who are, you know, CEOs, CFOs, and he's in the fitness world, and he is on the East Coast. And I saw him look at my message, and he never replied, so I just removed him because it made no sense.
Okay.
So, yeah, I feel like we're hitting super hard on this, but I think it's super important for people to understand.
And I think to your point, so if you're not going to make the effort to include that person in your network on some sort of regular interval and reach out to that person, somebody said recently, if you have no intentions of following up, do not take somebody's business card. And at networking events, I can't tell you, myself included, how many times I've like, oh yeah, let's exchange business cards, and then I never contact them. It's like, what is the point?
One thing that I do for that, and I actually did this recently at the convention center, I ended up meeting 2 gals that were working that actually do work at Clockwork. And the reason they were there was because the company, and this is public information, but the agency where they work, they are taking on the city of Minneapolis as a client because they're helping them redo their website. So instead of just taking their business cards and being one more, paper in my room or, cardboard thing in my room, I just took a picture with my phone, and then I sent myself a message on Follow Up Then, and I said email them on Monday, and that way I just reminded myself, because then it's a follow-up to a follow-up,
Right.
and it really helps not only you remember their name and get it in your head, but it also helps them to remember, hey, I met this person.
Right.
So, yeah. Wow.
Is that an app?
No, Follow Up Then's not an app, it's an email system, and it's free.
Oh.
And I learned about it, I want to say 6 years ago. You can get a membership. I don't know what that entails because I've never had to do that from a business standpoint. But it essentially, you can write yourself an email any date in the future. So it could be in the year 2020 on March 20th for whatever reason. Maybe you're getting engaged, you're waiting that long to, tie the knot, and you know that you need to call a certain vendor. And you can even put the time of day in there too. So what I typically do is, so how you would write an email is, let's just use your future date, even though this is probably going to be obsolete in 6 months from now. But let's just say June 1st, and if you want a specific time slot, maybe it's going to be 10 a.m. because you know that you're going to be super swamped at 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. because you know your calendar out that far. You can do June 1st, 8 a.m. at followupthen.com. And so it's literally June 1.8 a.m. at followupthen.com, and it'll send you an email saying, all right, we've got this in your calendar, and we're going to send you a reminder.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Cool, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
a lot of fun. Yeah, you're welcome. I love giving little tips and tricks to just help keep yourself organized.
Yeah.
Which is why I asked you about the Post-it note versus digital.
Yes.
Because I didn't know. Because for some reason I thought you might use a little bit of Post-it note, but I also know you're a heavy digital user.
Yes.
So
I have to put it in my calendar or it does not happen.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yep.
Anytime, even like a happy hour with girlfriends, I'm like, I'm sending you a calendar invite.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Or else it's not going to happen.
Yep, exactly. Thank you for
you're welcome.
coming on.
This is fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I'm super glad I could bring you on. And if you have any questions, comment below, and we'll see you on the other side, I suppose.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for watching.